Mayor Hartke?
Here.
Hi, we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Chandler, and welcome to the City Council meeting of January 28th, 2021. Mayor Kevin Harkey will be calling in. Is the mayor on the phone? Thank you. Like to take roll. City Clerk?
Mayor Harkey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. Tonight we have Pratibha Somaya from the Bhaktivanta Cultural Center giving the invocation. Thank you.
I'll begin with chanting the Maha Mantra. Maha means great, mantra means sound that liberates the mind from ignorance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Invocation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishate. Translation. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies, all of which are complete as he is. Thus, the phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this world, of this universe. No other unit in the universe need make any extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole. And when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete whole. The next prayer. Ivavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagat yam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita ma grada kasya svidhanam. Translation. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is the proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Ms.
giving me
Somaya.
the opportunity.
Councilmember Ellis, will you lead us in the pledge?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have one scheduled public appearance this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask our Citizens Bond Exploratory Committee Chairman Boyd Dunn to come up and share with a brief update on what the committee's been working on.
Thank you, Mayor Harkey, Mayor Vice Mayor Stewart, and the council members for giving me this time to give a status report on the work of the Citizen Bond Exploratory Committee. First of all, congratulations to council members Ellis and Harris. I appreciate your willingness to serve. And by the way, you're serving on the best city council in the state of Arizona. Just want to let you know that. The Citizen Exploratory Committee and the 7 subcommittees were formed by the council last year to provide citizen input regarding a possible bond authorization to address the future infrastructure needs of our city. The last bond authorization occurred 13 years ago, and the council at that time appointed 38 citizens on 6 committees to make recommendations on 10 separate authorizations for needed projects and improvements. This time, the mayor and the council increased that number to 49 individuals serving on 8 committees to provide recommendations on the needs of our city through voter-approved bonds that are deemed fiscally prudent and focus on several categories of projects that we feel are needed. The subcommittee structure and the involvement of so many members of our community have worked very well. The Citizen Bond Exploratory Steering Committee and subcommittees have now met nearly 60 times since August. Collectively, the 49 members of the committees have nearly perfect attendance. The members have taken their assigned responsibilities very seriously, and they've been a pleasure to work with. There's great enthusiasm and participation from committee members as they learn more about their community needs. Numerous questions have been asked, and the committee members toured facilities, both approved from past bond authorizations as well as aging infrastructure that have present needs and require updates. Committee members were excited to be a part of Chandler history, and they worked well with staff discussing projects and financial constraints. They developed understanding of debt capacity based on the remaining prior bond authorization. The tremendous amount of city planning studies completed in recent years by this council has offered valuable information for committee members. They reviewed your 10-year capital improvement plan along with council stated priorities contained therein. Staff has done an excellent job in supporting the Citizen Bond Exploratory Committee as well as the subcommittees by offering information, explaining operational needs, making presentations, and addressing questions from members. And I'd like to take the opportunity of thanking staff for their hard work, especially Don and Matt. They provide enormous guidelines and help with the members of the committees. Council has requested that the citizen process be absolutely transparent to the public, and we have certainly done that. The committee meeting agendas, copies, and presentations and meetings are all available for residents to view on the city website at chandleraz.gov/bond-election. Staff also began a public education process in November to inform residents about the work of the bond committee while encouraging that public comments be submitted through the website. All meetings of the subcommittees were noticed, held publicly, and public comment was welcomed. Also, the subcommittees have submitted their recommendations to the steering committee in November and December. The subcommittees took their assigned areas under careful study, met with directors, and prepared their wish list through thoroughly indicating their priorities. And those wish lists were extensive, and they were very excited about listing them in accordance to importance from their viewpoints. I specifically like to thank the chairs of the subcommittees for leading their members so well and presenting their reports to the steering committee, both in writing and verbally. The Finance Committee and the Steering Committee have began working since December, evaluating the recommendations and wish lists furthered by the subcommittees. I'd like to announce, make perfectly clear, that such evaluations have worked towards a final proposal to City Council that will not increase property taxes for either the primary and secondary rates by making certain that proposed projects were able to fit within capital funding while including all associated operational and maintenance fees and costs. So both committees understood the long-standing fiscal policies and expectations of the council that has resulted in achieving our AAA bond ratings. The steering committee studied how additional bond authorizations would not result in the increase of property taxes. The members specifically reviewed funding options for all projects. In-depth discussions occurred on the types of projects typically supported by voters. That discussion included a review of the success and failure of bond elections in other communities, including 2020 that occurred in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale. As you probably know, Tempe and Mesa approved all of their bond authorization by the vote of their citizens, while Glendale's authorizations failed in total. We certainly looked at Tempe and Mesa. The members of the Finance and Steering Committees also received presentations from the city's financial advisor, Bill Davis from Piper Sandler, and the city's bond counsel, Tim Stratton from Gus Rosenfeld. And applying these factors, the steering committee on December 18, 2020, unanimously voted to not include utilities as a question in the upcoming bond election by determining that ETRO bonds have been historically used to fund utility projects. And on January 15, 2021, the steering committee again unanimously voted to not include the airport or information technology as questions in the upcoming bond election, since projects in these areas will be funded with either remaining bond authorization, cash, or a future bond election. This allowed us to put more of what we thought were critical projects on the current question that's going to be considered by this council for 2021. The steering committee is planning to vote soon on the bond questions and how they should appear on the upcoming bonds election later this year. And I plan to present all the proposed project details with a final report on February 25th, 2021 before this council. The steering committee will be providing a final executive summary to the city council prior to this date for your review, detailing the potential projects that could be funded by a future bond election. So thank you very much for the opportunity of serving as chairman and for the citizens working on this these important questions to give you the best possible advice for your final decision. Any questions, council?
Commissioner Dunn, thank you for that. Commissioner, I see you as Mayor Dunn, so I'm going to say Mayor Dunn. Mayor Dunn, thank you for that
Yeah, I'd rather
presentation.
have Mayor Dunn than Commissioner Dunn nowadays.
We'll splice them together. So,
free.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Orlando.
Vice Mayor, yeah, I was going to ask the same question. I'll just call you Boyd because I know you first as Boyd, what, 20-something years ago, 25 years ago? Hey, a couple of questions. If you can't answer, our staff will be able to help you out, obviously. Do we know how many people submitted information? Citizens who went online, submitted information for the bond committee. Do we know how many people participated in that?
I probably don't know exactly from the website, but we did have participants that appeared in the audience, actually two former elected officials of the city council who asked very good questions to the steering committee. So I'm certain we've had a number of hits on the website.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
been
I'm
up for a
looking
while. Do we have any records of how many citizens have actually gone on?
at. You can get it to us. It's not a big,
Yeah.
I'm just curious it's always important to show the residents are responding, and it's good to have those numbers. That's all. So it's not a big deal. Second,
Include that on the executive report as to any questions we received from the general public.
I appreciate it.
I think that'll be
Yeah, we'll
important.
have to get that from Kappa.
Hmm?
We'll get that from Kappa.
Okay.
Yeah, and that
Good question.
helps us prioritize, obviously, some of the issues where the mindset are, the citizens are. So that's, as you know, from your previous experience, that's good to know that.
Well, I think what's important to the committee, they looked at very seriously how other past bond authorizations occurred in each category.
Good.
And as you know, there are some ones that are very popular with citizens, police, fire, parks, and transportation. So those are going to be the key items we're going to focus on, as well as bring up some new areas in terms of maintenance of facilities. We've never really gone out and asked for bond authorization, not for the cost to maintain those those entities, but to improve them, to make improvements that are necessary to keep them viable for serving our citizens. So that's going to be an interesting bond authorization. But as you know, the council has always had those items specifically divided. And so we'll have those questions divided so that the citizens will be able to vote on each one any way they wish to do so.
Excellent. And Vice Mayor, with your indulgence, so did we have anything that fell off the list?
Yes, we did.
So what I would, sorry, go ahead.
I guess it's not really fallen off because it's included in the future, but one item that we had to work through is the detention center. There was a request to build a new detention center for Chandler alone, and the police chief achieved an excellent job in presenting that and realizing that Scottsdale has one. So I felt like, Scottsdale has one, we got to have one too.
Exactly.
But after looking at it, realizing that would require perhaps 33, was that the correct number, of additional officers to man, it has significant operation and maintenance costs. And this council has always had this policy that if we do include a capital item, the operation and maintenance costs need to be part of that question. And those operation and maintenance costs were how many millions? Do we know, Don, offhand?
The positions, I apologize, I think were 26, and the cost was about 3.3 million in ongoing,
Over 2 million?
3.3
3
million.
million. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we felt that under that circumstance, that would have taken away a lot of projects. And especially, we looked very carefully at how well the partnership is occurring with, with the Gilbert facility. We're still cooperating. We still have, as the council knows, I'm saying things that you know already, but I learned that we have about 2 more years of assurance there. And so we felt it was more important to expand on the lab facility. As a matter of fact, and council, you'd appreciate that. I had a tour, first time, I think, since for a long time, of the police headquarters, and I saw how cramped those quarters were. And I saw how, the committee really was taken back by how limited their lab facilities are. So we felt it was more important to build a new lab facility. They'll be able to be phased in, that will not have the operation and maintenance costs initially, and that could also serve communities outside of Chandler, perhaps, because that could be a lab that other cities would want to use too, and that could bring in some income. So all those things are going to be explained in the report. So it was very tough to look at the wish list of all the subcommittees. They're so excited about all the projects they wanted to do, and then looking at it more critically. And that was the role of the Finance Committee, and especially with the excellent recommendation and help of the staff to really understand things from a financial standpoint. We did not want to get in the position to even offer council an option that would increase secondary or even potentially primary property tax.
So that will, I guess the question, that'll be included in the report, anything that we decided not to go forward. That's
Absolutely.
my question. Okay.
Absolutely. And we'll discuss why we chose certain things and why other things are later on. But the thing to remember is that we looked at 2 phases of the bond question because it's going to be a 10-year period, correct? Yes, 10 year. And but we're going to include projects throughout that 10-year period because the prerogative of the council to make changes. I mean, you may, in your wisdom on the CIP program, decide to bring something up sooner or later. So we'll make recommendations on projects that fit, fiscally in that area, but realizing that the timing of those items, as always, will be dependent on the council.
And finally, the IT and the airport, that also be included in the report to figure out what the thought process were there as well, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's not that the airport did not obtain what they felt was important for the economic development or further economic development of the airport. You'll see that one major item is in a different category in the streets area. And there's cash available to do other things. So all that be explained.
Okay.
And that was with the full support of the chairman and the committee members of the airport. And IT was also another one that I had to really look into, just to understand our fiber optic structure in the city of Chandler. We feel, certainly we'll explain why the fiber optics will be adequate for the years to come. And that may be either paid by future resources or again, under the bond election out a little further. So all that will be explained in detail. Good
Okay.
questions.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And
No.
again, thanks for your service. Once again, we appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure, really. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vice.
Do you have a question?
I just want to make a statement.
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
All right, Commissioner Board, thank you so much for serving and leading this important conversation with Chandler. I know that it's gonna work out great when we get the report and able to really deep dive all the different things the exploratory committee was able to determine, the bond committee was able to determine. So just want to say kudos and thank you for your service. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, council member. It's been a pleasure coming back to Chandler. Last bond authorization occurred 13 years ago when I was mayor, so it's been a long time, but this is an important item for the city. And I just commend the council for making certain that we got the feedback from the citizens. I think we're gonna have a reception, are we not, for the, I can't tell you how excited these individuals have been to just serve you and to serve the city and to understand what the city of Chandler needs, but also the heavy responsibility you have as council members to make these decisions so that we can make certain that we have the amenities that we need for the future. So it's been a great educational process. We should give them a certificate or some sort of diploma for all their efforts, but I'm certain you will. But thank you, council member. Appreciate those comments.
Mayor Dunn, thank you very much for the presentation. That was outstanding. For those that are watching, what's the next step now? Is there a timeline or?
Yes, I plan to be back here on February 25th. Before that, you'll get a very detailed written report. The steering committee is meeting tomorrow to make some modifications on numbers, but also to start reviewing the report. It's being put together as we're speaking. No, not right now, but that's probably why Dawn was late. She was working on it. She was late. No, you got it right. It used to be me. I always got it on the wire too. But you'll have a detailed report to review beforehand. So when I come back and make the report, you'll have all those facts in front of you and be able to hopefully make the decision then. So we're wrapping up pretty quickly.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay. Thank you.
I think we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We had some good discussion on Monday about a number of the topics. I believe item number 13 is being postponed until the February 25th meeting. Is there any other discussion that needs to be addressed?
Vice Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
I'd like to make a motion. I approve that I make a motion, we approve the city council regular meeting Thursday, January 28th, agenda item 1 through 27. And as you indicated, continuance of item 13 to February 25th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
I second that.
I have a second. I have a motion from Councilmember Orlando and a second by Councilmember Lopez.
Oh,
So we'd, Clark would like to move to a vote.
Mayor Hartke,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Now up for the next part of the agenda, Councilmember Orlando has requested a briefing from our Fire Chief, Tom Dwiggins, about COVID vaccinations. Thanks so much, Councilmember Orlando, for bringing this forward. This is important for our community to be aware of, and I'm definitely interested in knowing more about this.
Vice Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
before the fire chief starts, I know he's going to get a little embarrassed here, but I truly want to thank you for all you and your staff is doing to keep us safe, particularly with this COVID. I've been out at the pod several times, and your folks are out there hustling. And I know they're flat rate, but they're out there hustling. And I see the other fire departments out there hustling, the National Guard's out there hustling. They understand the importance of this, that a shot in the arm saves a life. And I truly want to thank you for your leadership in this area. It's been well recognized by everyone throughout the community that you and your department have leaned forward on this issue from day one, and we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I promise I won't embarrass you anymore.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Fair enough?
Vice Mayor, members of the council. So just to echo that, I would like to say that this is we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and obviously there's still a lot of people that are very sick, people dying. But I've had an opportunity to speak to all of you at some point, even our newly elected council members. The fact that we're talking about vaccines tonight is a good thing. Really, this is the solution to a very long problem that we've always had. And so, as much as I'd like to be done with COVID, we are in that last stage. We still have to be resilient. We still have to wear masks. We still have to do the right things. But tonight we're talking about vaccines, and I think that's a really good thing for the city. So one thing I do want to say is in preparing for this this briefing, I've visited all of the sites, AZDHS, Public Health, and I know that each of you are receiving phone calls, emails probably daily, looking for information. There are probably sources of information out there that is conflicting, and that's one thing that we've seen throughout this whole pandemic. And so I do want to put one disclaimer is that the information that I'm going to share with you tonight, and it is very basic information, is information that we have pulled, my staff and I, for the last couple days. But literally, as we speak tonight, it could be changing. Things are changing that quick. And we've been in meetings at the state level, at the county level. By the time the meeting ended, the information had changed on us. So I just want you to keep that in mind. But I will certainly do the best I can to answer any questions and then talk about this. So the first slide I have up is really the phase slide, and I think that there's a lot of questions out there as to how did they come up with these phases? What are these priorities about? And so this is right off the Maricopa County website. And what happens is there's a group at the federal level that reports to the CDC. They make recommendations as to how you should prioritize the vaccines for the entire population. They then send those recommendations down to the state level, and the state takes them. They have their own committee that is formed that takes that information, and then they make recommendations to both the state and county. And that's important to know because you're going to see there's a little bit of change in here. So as it's laid out here, you can see we have really 3 phases, but within phase 1, we have phase 1A, phase 1B, and phase 1C. Phase 1A actually started on December 21st, and that was for all of our healthcare workers, our hospital staff, care workers from many different sectors, our EMS workers, which were our firefighters, and then in long-term care facilities, they really started to engage the CDC and the county to get in there. From phase 1A, and it was shortly after that, only a couple weeks, they transitioned in phase 1B. Now, as you can see, phase 1B has 5 different subcategories. What they did was instead of taking all 5 categories, they took the first 3. So our teachers, our law enforcement, and anyone over 75. And what they called them was phase 1B priority. And so that phase 1B priority is who is authorized to be vaccinated right now as we speak. As you know, shortly after that, the governor announced that he wanted 65 and older, which currently resides in 1C, moved into phase 1B. That move was actually made at the federal level. It was brought down to the state. The state adopted that, and they are now vaccinating everyone 65 and older, along with law enforcement, education, and everyone remaining in 1A. However, the county, which is where our pods are, decided that they couldn't do that. At this time, the population that they're serving, it would have been too many people. I believe there was 400,000 people in Maricopa 65 and older. And so what they've chosen to do is to wait. They're going to get through more of the 1A and the 1B priority population, and then they'll start with the 65 and older, and that's going to probably be here pretty soon. They did justify that, and I think this is important because we do have a lot of people that are in that 65 to 74 group that are very confused right now. They can't get appointments at any of our pods that are county, which is our southeast pod. The only places they can go is to the 2 state pods, which is at the Cardinal Stadium and then Phoenix Municipal Stadium. County made their decision not only based on a supply issue, but also the fact that when you look at that age group, the 65 to 74, and then you look at the 75 and older, if you base it off of the 18 to 29, the 65 to 74, they have about a 5% increase, or they're 5 times more likely to be hospitalized versus the 75 and older are 8 times more likely. And then when you look at mortality, the 64 to 75 are at 90 times more likely to have a fatal outcome versus the 18 to 29. But the minute you get to that 75 and older, it goes to 200 times.
Mhm.
And so they really made their policy based on not just supply, but also what they're seeing in the data. What are the patient outcomes? And so at this time, they're holding right here at the 75 and older, and hopefully that will come soon. As you can see, phase 1C has also the adult with high risk medical condition. Then we start getting into phase 2 and 3, which is more of the general population. So I'm sure you've heard, that things are log jammed, that there's supply issues. And I think it's important to note when we look at the populations of these phases, phase 1A had a population of 376,000 people. Phase 1B, which is what we're in right now with the priorities, about 1.3 million people. And then phase 1C, once we get in there, we're looking at 3.5. And so it was over 5 million people in just phase 1. They're going to have to be vaccinated. And so that's total, all three, 1A, 1B, and 1C. So obviously, this is a big lift. This is a big lift to get that many people through the various sites to get them vaccinated. Originally, the plan was always that the first pods that were up were only going to be up in December and part of January. And by the end of January, all of the dispensary of these vaccines were going to go to your primary healthcare providers and then all of your local pharmacies, your Albertsons, your Fry's, different areas like that. Obviously, there was a lot of success with the pods, and so they have decided to keep those up. I know that many of you have had questions or you've heard rumors. I think I heard it on the news the other night that the Southeast pod is going to be closed here in a week. That's not true. They have signed an agreement. That pod will be open through February, and they're already planning out into March, keeping that pod open. And so, although it's probably not the most ideal, the best thing to do is to have, many dispensary sites. Right now, this is working, and so they are going to stay with this pod concept while they continue to introduce more pharmacies, more grocery stores, things like that. Okay, so our point of dispensary location, and that's what POD stands for. You can see I've listed these here. The ones in black with the C, and there's 5 main ones. Those are your county sites, and so those are all run by the county. The majority of them are using the Pfizer vaccine, although they're going to start using some Moderna vaccine as well. Then you have the 2 state sites, which I said was a State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Phoenix Municipal Stadium in Phoenix. What's really important to know right now is that the county sites, as I said, will not vaccinate anyone who is not over 75. So that 65 to 74 age range has to go to one of the 2 state sites. Additionally, when you go to a pod, whether you use Pfizer or Moderna, you have got to stay with that same manufacturer. So you can't go to one pod site and get a Pfizer vaccine, not be able to get an appointment, but book one across town and go to another one and receive a separate type of vaccine. You have to stay consistent. The advice that I've been giving people is try to stay consistent within your pod, because then you can ensure that you have the proper vaccine. But these are the 5 sites. As you know, they are continuing to try to open more sites. I know that Grand Canyon University is opening a site in their parking lot. Right now, the strategy with that is that's going to be for the second dose. And so you're going to see more colleges, areas open up sites. And what they're looking to do is really separate some of these pods from first dose to second dose. As you know, a lot of people have already received their first dose. Many have received their second, but many are still waiting for it. And you just had such an influx of people all at once that those people receiving the second dose are really scrambling. Now, we did have a call with county last night. They said that emails are going out to people that have already received the first dose. as to how to register and where to go for their second. So I know that they are, they're up against a clock, obviously, to get those doses in those arms, and that's occurring right now. Okay, so outside of the pod locations, we have pharmacies. And what you'll notice is that when you go to the website, whether it's the county or AZDHS, there is a very bold statement that says, if you are over 75, before you register, click on this link. And what they're going to do is they're going to bring you to a pharmacy registration process. And if that's an option for you, you can go to here, you can see Albertsons and Safeway, and they can give you the vaccine. Now, this is very limited. If you think about the workforce at the pod, the site, there are hundreds of people there every day, and there are multiple lines. Whereas if we go to the Albertsons on Chandler, it's not going to be as big. So the appointments book very quickly. I tried to get in there and book an appointment, and I couldn't get one. And I'm sure that that's common. But this is an option. And I wanted you to see this because this is actually the preferred method where the state and the county want to go. They really want to flush these out into the pharmacies. And as I said, the primary care, so they can get people going there.
Vice Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
thank you. So I see 6 here, obviously. Is it purely a supply issue? Or is it a contractual issue, or what? What are your thoughts on that, if you have any?
Vice Mayor, Council Member, I put the 6 closest ones, but there are many more. There is to answer your question, and I can tell you that we have talked to the county about the supply. From what I understand, they're receiving approximately 169,000 vaccines per week. They're holding their appointments. There's a lot of people that are frustrated because they can't book their appointment at the end of the month. That's because the county and the state cannot guarantee how many vaccines that they can get. So they're only doing 1 to 2 weeks at a time. They want to make sure that they have enough vaccines on hand so that if any of us book an appointment and they go, they can get it. 169,000 is what I'm being told is that we're getting per week. I know that I believe it was last week. We had a request of the federal government for 300,000. That was denied. They're staying at 169 right now, but I know that the state is obviously very motivated to continue to try to get more supply in. We are seeing more sites pop up. I'm hearing about it every day. There's a new site that's popping up, and as that happens, you're still working with the same supply, so your supply just gets shorter and shorter and shorter.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Chief, when you said 169,000, is that both first and second dose at the same time? Or is it of each?
Vice Mayor, Council Member, that's both. And so they actually have a breakdown for Pfizer and Moderna. They'll take either one of them, but that's what we're getting total in vaccine with both manufacturers.
Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Lopez.
Maybe too technical. I got 2 questions here. One, the Pfizer's 2 shots and Moderna's 1, or is Moderna also 2?
Vice Mayor, Council Member, both are 2 shots.
Okay.
The biggest difference between the 2 is the Moderna is much easier to store. It doesn't require the freezers that the Pfizer does. Additionally, the Pfizer is a 21-day window minimum before you get your second dose, and Moderna is a 28-day.
Say the first one again. It was 21 days.
So when you get your injection, you have about 50% immunity. 21 days later, you get the second injection, which is called a booster, and that'll bring you up to 96%. So even with the first dose, you have some immunity, but the goal is to get you to 96. And so after 21 days from the first injection, you're required to get that booster injection. Now, it doesn't have to be right on the 21st day. You actually have a couple-week window in there. And that's really where both the county and the state are focusing right now, is making sure that all those people stay within that window and get that second dose.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. And second question. So talking about, again, the supply chain here. 169 a week. I mean, plotting this out, doing some math, and you're saying about 8 weeks, that would cover all of 1B. Is that expected that 1C would open up in, well, since it's been running for a couple of weeks, and if that number holds, it should be opening up in 5, 6 weeks? Does the county have any planned roadmap estimations on that? And as part of that, is there a certain threshold? Because again, as this lays open for the 1Bs, when they pass 75%, are those that aren't going to be taking it? Those that, again, for whatever reason, just don't want to do it? Is there a point where they say, okay, we've given the 1Bs long enough to get it done. Now we have on hand at the end of the day, so we're moving on to 1C? Or are they staying until all 1Bs are done? We're not moving on to 1C. How is their plan there?
Vice Mayor, council member. So they are, what they did with tier 1A is they moved on, but they kept it open. So you can still register. When you go through the registration site right now, and if you're a tier 1B priority, the first couple questions are still asking you if you're a healthcare worker. And if you indicate that you are, you can still get that vaccine. And so I believe they will move on. As far as your question goes, as times, that's the golden question we've all been asking is what can we project? One thing that I think that it's very important to remember is there's no difference between the first vaccine and the second vaccine. So when we say we're doing 169 per week, we have to remember that it's times 2 because that whoever we vaccinate has to come back for a second one. And so it really builds up before you know it. And the last thing that we want to do is give somebody one dose and not have enough to get them to the second dose, to get them to that 96 percentile as far as their immunity. And so it's a tough question to answer. It's a question that everybody's trying to figure out right now. The only thing that I do know for sure is they will move on and they will keep you open. And so it'll just continue to
Right, as stated in your previous graph, that it's in the 1A, 1B is still open. They can always come in any time, but they'll move on to 1C after, again, like you said, by the numbers, if they think that we can open up and still have enough to do the second dose. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Chief, I know I discussed it with you before regarding symptoms and reactions, things like that about it. How is that going with different people? I know a lot of people are leery about it because of the side effects and things like that they experience in others. I know when I took mine, I had pain for a couple of days in my arm. So what else are we seeing beside that?
So Vice Mayor, council member, we've been at the and really what I'm about to tell you is anecdotal because we haven't studied it, but we have staff on site that are actually responsible for the treatment and the evaluation, as you know, of allergic reactions. What we've seen is much like your pain at the site is a systemic response that is local. We have not seen a full body systemic response. I know that the site reported, I believe it was last night, they're at 75,000 vaccines just at this southeast site. But I haven't heard of any, but I also haven't asked for any specific studies. We're always keeping our ear out there to see what we hear, and you do hear things. But it's nothing significant where our medical directors and the physicians, both at the county, at the hospital, whose dignity is responsible for this pod, where they've stopped us, brought us in and said, hey, we need to start looking for these types of signs and symptoms that could be a systemic allergic reaction. We have not seen any of that or heard any of that yet.
Thank you, Chief.
No problem.
Councilmember Harris.
Hey, Chief, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Thank you. I have just a couple of questions. The first question that I have is, after you're vaccinated the first and second time, this is a two-part question. Does mask go away at that point? And then, can you catch COVID again after receiving the second vaccination?
Vice Mayor, council member, so that question is so far above my head as far as whether masks are going to be required. Those decisions are to come, but I have, to be quite honest with you, I have no idea what they're going to expect or what the county or AZDHS is going to say. Right now, I do know, and I can speak for your fire department, is that whether you've been vaccinated or not, we are still wearing masks. From what I understand, you can still get this virus However, that immunity that you build fights it, so you're not symptomatic to it. The question is, can you still shed it? Can you still be contagious and shed that virus? And so our own internal policy, based on what we've seen and our medical direction, is to continue to wear masks. And we'll do that until that decision is made. But that's going to be, as you can imagine, quite a lengthy discussion.
And my second question is, in terms of the senior population in Chandler, are they keeping track of data to share this population of people, specifically speaking to Chandler, like our vulnerable population, our older population? Do you have data to say, okay, 25% of our citizens in Chandler have been vaccinated or they're working on their second vaccination? And then is there any plans in terms of our senior population, just making sure that they're able to get the vaccination, or do we set some aside to make sure that they have that? If you can just speak, I know that's kind of a little bit everywhere, but if you can just kind of speak to those issues, that would be helpful.
Vice Mayor, Council Member. So to address your first question, as far as data goes, when you receive the vaccination, you go through the registration process, and there are specific data points that you are entering, and that data goes to the state, and obviously they're keeping that. There has been talk about releasing a dashboard, just like we see for our COVID cases. The dashboard has not been created yet. What would be helpful to us is to see maybe a dashboard specific to zip codes of the total population, what percentages are vaccinated, and then to your point, what age groups would be helpful as well. But to date, I do not have access to that, and there's no place for us to go grab that data. But like I said, I've heard there's plans for a dashboard in the future. Your second question regarding our elderly population, we are working, especially with neighborhood services, with many of our city groups every day to try to understand, or identify the populations that may not have access to the pod site, may be limited by certain circumstances where they can't get the vaccine, and we are working to either find a way to help them register. Try to find a way to get them to the pod and or give them vaccinations. We're not there yet. We have some really good conversations going on with the county, and we are certainly identifying that is an issue, but we're not there yet. That could change here in the next couple of weeks, but as far as us giving vaccines, we have not started that.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, thanks so much for that presentation. I got to tell you, from the very beginning of this, when it was almost a year ago, when we started talking about COVID and the challenges that we're going to be faced with, and when we needed information, your team and you stepped up to get us that type of information. I think what Councilmember Harris and the rest of the council members are asking for is the more information that we can provide the community, the safer that we feel, the more calm that things are. And you've done a tremendous job of doing that, from the reports that we get weekly about where our numbers are to this report tonight. So I can't thank you enough for that, because it gives me a feeling that we know what we're doing, and that in our cities specifically, we are committed to doing the best we can to keep our community safe. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
City Manager?
Yes. So the chief likes about 3 slides being complete with his presentation. So if you would like for him to continue, your choice.
Absolutely. We're going to do it at the end. We'll
like
thank
some
you
more
again at the end.
information.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll be really quick. So, this slide's up here, and this is just, these are the websites. There are websites for, you can see the state, the county, and the pharmacies. Each one of these sites will take you directly to where you need to go to register. There's also a helpline in place that if for some reason there's just a problem, you can't register or you don't have a computer, you can go to the helpline and obviously they can guide you. Now, to be fully transparent, it's busy. I tried for hours, and it is difficult to get to these helplines. The county does not have a helpline, just the state. Many of us that sit on these task force have said they need to do something right away to get more help out there registering. We believe the message is getting to the population, but it's not the easiest process to register. And so we are asking that they, staff or whatever they can do. Really quick, what we're doing here in the city, obviously the Southeast pod, as I said, this has been the most successful pod. We've done 75,000 vaccines versus 42,000 the next one. The police department, leadership from the police department, some of our teams from the fire department have been there since November, working with these groups, with Dignity, with the county to plan this event. We've had boots on the ground. As I said, with EMS standbys, I know the police department has been heavily involved in working with the staff out there at the college. And so it's something that we're going to continue to support just because they are turning out so many vaccines. Chandler Unified School District, they're actually holding a vaccine clinic this weekend, one at Perry, one at Hamilton. They have asked help from public safety, so we will have our paramedics there to stand by, just as we're doing at that Southeast pod. That way, if there are any issues, we can be right there to help respond. The City of Chandler Immunization Clinic, and this is something that we had authorization to immunize our police department. When we did that, we did have some additional vaccines left over. We went through the county. The county said, hey, this is a good time to start vaccinating some of your city employees. And so we did put a clinic together to vaccinate employees. I can tell you human resources, I'm not sure if Raylan's staff slept for a couple nights to get this all together, to get the right people together. And we pulled it off. We pulled it off in such a short amount of time because when they give you that vaccine, you go get it, right? And you bring it here to Chandler as fast as you can. And they took care of everything else. And then the last thing is the vaccine communication. Our city, our CAPA department put together on our webpage. If you go to the COVID banner and you hit that, there's a spot that says vaccinations. Everything that I pretty much just told you guys as far as where to go is on there. In fact, they actually break down the questions, question for question, as far as the registration process goes. It has the helpline numbers, really tons of information, everything that our citizens need. And so I believe, we're doing a great job. I know Leah Powell's team, again, they're meeting constantly. They're talking to the community. They're talking to all of our partners, all of our nonprofits to see what we can do to assist them. They're really leveraging a lot of relationships to expand our workforce to just get a lot of work done. The last slide I have here, and this is just City of Chandler. So this is what, as far as vaccinations, where we think we're at. The 150 number, these are Chandler employees that were vaccinated at the Southeast pod. That's approximate. We don't have that information, but we've been out there enough that we think that that's pretty close. The City of Chandler employees vaccinated by Chandler, by the fire department through HR, who, as I said, has done amazing work. That's way past 327. So we're going to be at 500. We had a great day today. We have a great day planned for Saturday. So we think by the end of Saturday, we're going to have 650 city employees vaccinated. That's it. We have no more vaccines. I can tell you that right before this meeting, I got the word that our second doses are already in. We're picking them up on Monday. And so we'll secure those. And then we'll continue to work with the county as the essential employees come up in Tier 1B and more of our employees are eligible. We'll be out there trying to get those vaccines so we can make sure that they're vaccinated. That is all I have.
Chief, thanks so much.
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Oh, Councilmember Lopez.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Vice Mayor said 3 slides ago. Is that thank you. It's calling you out. Thank you for that, and again to Team Chandler. Like you said, we never know which department's going to wind up getting thrown into the heat. And HR, CAPA, neighborhood services. You would think that you'd be involved this heavily into COVID vaccinations, right? But everybody steps up so quickly, and that's part of the Team Chandler commitment that everybody's there to serve our community as best we can. So, thank you to all of you.
Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Orlando.
My apologies to the chief, too. Sean, I was going to list everyone. I forgot the police department. They were out there as well. They have several vehicles out there, not only for traffic control, but also to guard the vaccination, as well as other duties that's necessary. So kudos to your force. And hopefully, Chief, I know you guys have an ops tempo that's unbelievable. I'm hoping you're giving guys and gals time off and the best you could, because that's, it's a little scary to me that you're doing this ops tempo, plus folks are getting ill, plus normal life activities. It's tough. And to be out there, you understand what the ops tempo is. So hopefully you're giving those time off and working with them to keep them healthy and safe themselves. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I think, a couple things. City Manager, if we can get this presentation spliced out of this this meeting from YouTube and shared with the community, there's a lot of great information I think that people would love to hear from the fire chief. And speaking of video, is there any video of the fire department giving the police department vaccines? I think people would pay money to see that. Well, that takes us to unscheduled public appearances. Do we have any cards this
Vice
evening?
Mayor, no, I have not received any cards.
All right. So we'll move into city announcements here. And so I've got a couple here, if I can find these. So first off, I want to acknowledge our newest council members, Councilmember Ellis and Councilmember Harris. Welcome to your first meeting. And we're just delighted to have you. And I can't wait for the great things that we're all going to do together as a team, as Team Chandler. So, and to dovetail off what Chief was just talking about, earlier this week, the mayor shared some information on the city's webpage about the COVID vaccine. Some of the stuff you heard tonight is in that video, but there'll be more information there. So we hope this will answer a number of questions from the community. And on that page as well, there'll be information about how to register, about the state's vaccine portal, and a number of different FAQs will be there as well. So with the vaccine distribution, I want to echo the mayor's sentiment about how now being the time being to remain diligent, protecting yourselves and your community. I'm already starting to feel that a little bit of relief that we are moving closer and closer to being a healthy community again. So let's keep moving forward. Let's keep protecting ourselves and our families and doing the right thing. And that's all I have. Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm excited to make this great announcement. Our Chandler High School football team has won the state championship. Woo woo! So we're super excited. We can't wait to have representation from their team to come for our February meeting. And we cannot discount Hamilton Huskies for a job well done. They were the runner-up. So good job, Hamilton High School football team. What a great season. We pulling through this together as Chandler residents. Also, I look forward to seeing them and doing all that great stuff. Also, I am excited because, as you guys know, the inauguration was just recently happened, January 14th. And many of you all see me with a stack of Bibles. A lot of people was trying to figure out what books are those. Those were King James Version Bibles. And so each one of them was actually, it was dated. I had it monogrammed. And I am, when I sworn on those, but I am donating one of those Bibles to the City of Chandler Library, to the museum. And they will be getting that tomorrow. And so I'm super excited about that. I think it was a historic time. And I was actually happy and excited to watch the swearing in of the first Black woman of City Council, but also I'll be the first Black man to sit with the first Black woman as council members. And not just that, just from a historical perspective, you're talking 5 African Americans in over 100 years. And that's just an amazing thing. And it's just compliments to where Chandler is and where we're going together. So I'm super excited about that. The last thing I wanted to announce before I stop speaking was I had a very dear friend of mine. His name was Daniel Hoyer. He passed away. He was 32 years old. And speaking of COVID, he passed from COVID in less than 7 days. So I wanted to, something that his family wrote, I just kind of wanted to read it into the record and just have a moment of silence for some of those individuals that had passed on from COVID that we're still fighting on this battle. So Daniel's dream was his treasure, and the love he shared cannot be measured. Daniel was a visionary, intelligent, beautiful expression. Vibe. So let's take a moment, just a few seconds for those that have passed from COVID. Thank you.
Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this last weekend, we had our 5th annual Chandler National Film Festival here in Chandler. So it was mostly hosted at the Harkins at Chandler Fashion. But it was held throughout the city and a lot of downtown areas. You can see some pictures of the red carpet, a picture of our board, some of the actors and producers and directors that flew in from all around the world. We had 6 countries and 120 films it was 30 countries across 6 continents that had come. We're still trying to get a film from Antarctica. That's the hardest one to get a film from. But it was a very, very fun event. We made sure that we did the proper social distancing and masking up where possible. And we had a lot of films, feature films that were first time ever seen on the big screen at our film festival. The award winner of the film feature award winner was Angie Lost Girl, which was a film that I had hosted. It is a film about anti-sex trafficking in order to raise awareness about sex trafficking. So it was kind of apropos since January is Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. And as part of that, there is another event that is coming up on Sunday, this coming Sunday. I don't have the date here, whatever Sunday is. At 5:30, it is a virtual event that this is the Night of Hope that has been held here in downtown Chandler for the last 3 years, but now it's going to be virtual. So to learn more about the Night of Hope, you can go to nightofhopeaz.com in order to see the streaming of that on Sunday. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Rowe.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and I'm pretty sure the mayor is listening, so respect to him. But I typically talk about public safety and the folks that work for us. I definitely want to always say thank you to them, and I appreciate their efforts. But tonight, we shouldn't forget the arts. The arts are out there. They still matter very much. You know, life goes on. So the Chandler Arts Commission is looking for a group of residents in the city, and this is your neighborhood. So don't count yourself out before you count yourself in. They're looking for a neighborhood that would like to incorporate a public art project within their neighborhood. And so one resident group or neighborhood association will be chosen for a project that will help express the beauty, identity, and vitality of your neighborhood. So this means you put in for it. Somebody's going to win, right? So some of the projects that might be accepted or include a mural, public seating, utility box wraps, things of that nature. And I think we can get a little creative with that. And if you want to know more about it, you can apply on the Vision Gallery's website. So hopefully you'll do that. And that's it for me today. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Rowe. Councilwoman Ellis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As you know, February is Black History Month, and so we are gearing here in Chandler to have a swell time and getting everybody all excited about what we're going to do. We are partnering actually with a number of local organizations to celebrate Black History Month starting Monday night. And so we welcome everybody to watch online and those who can participate to come down and be here with us safely. From the panel discussion, we're going to have mic nights, movies, screening, all different kinds of things with the other organization that we are partnering with and learn more about the Black community's contribution to our local and global history. Because when we talked about Black History Month, it's not only here in the United States, I believe it's all over the world where we can celebrate the history and the heritage of the Black people in all nations. You can also visit the city's Black History Month webpage or our diversity offices calendar to view all the events that we're going to be having throughout the city. I know that there are organizations that are having them from the 1st to the last day of February. So gear up and get ready. It's going to be a fun time. Another announcement that I would like to make is that February also is the month of love. And I know a lot of you are getting ready to get your sweethearts all ready for love this month. But at the same time, we want you to give back some love to Chandler. We want you to really show us some love, definitely into the parks area. We are launching a love challenge, Love Chandler Challenge is being launched next week. So we want you in all the parks. Look at that beautiful shirt. You can get one of those for every park that you go to. Wherever you see that you're in the park and you love what you see, please hashtag a picture and let us know that you love it. And then we will enter you into this whole type of what we are doing. Are we doing a drawing? And then everybody will be able to get it, right? Oh, awesome. It's on social media. We will highlight city-based places, parks, trails, TRCs, libraries, wherever you are in Chandler, just show us some love because it is a love challenge after all. Follow the city's social media channels for more information. Please do so. Thank you so much. This is it for me.
Councilmember Ellis, thank you very much. And you want to bring us home, Councilmember Orlando?
Yeah, you bet, Vice Mayor. Thank you very much. And kudos to what you've done this week to keep this crew in line. Very good job. We certainly appreciate that. And the only reason why you're here is because obviously our mayor is ill at home. We want to wish him a speedy recovery. And obviously stay safe, Kevin, and we'll see you back here soon, okay? Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor.
City Manager?
Nothing tonight. Thanks, Vice Mayor.
This meeting is adjourned.